Hey you guys, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Y'all see this paper towel blowing in the back. I have my air going. It is hot. But anyway, happy Friday. I am so excited to be here this evening with you all. I am always excited to be here with you all. This is one of the fun things that I do, right? Although it is considered work, it is still a lot of fun to do. It is a pleasure and an honor to be able to share this platform with you all and the guests that I always have come on with Make It Rise. Let's be clear. I always ask guests who are able to be transparent, open, and honest about whatever the topic is. And so that is what I've been doing for going on. As a matter of fact, it's been over 2 years. I didn't celebrate the 2 year mark yet, but I am. You guys stand by for something very special that is coming down the pipe for my 2 year mark or my 2 year anniversary for doing Let's Be Clear. But for those of you who do not know me, my name is Tam. I'm Tamara Johnson, Tamara Burton, Tam Johnson. I'm going to go back to my maiden name, and I'm going to have a whole series on last names after this. But I am Tamara Johnson, and I am the founder of Make It Rise, the creator of this amazing platform, Let's Be Clear. When we started 2 years ago, I started with marriages, healthy marriages in mind, right? And I did that because A, God gave me the vision, but B, because I felt that I needed to be what I needed when I was in the valley of my marriage. And so, because sometimes we'll go through things and we'll think it's only me. But reality is, it's not just you. If we think about the vow, all of the words, think about the words to the marriage vows, right? It talks about the good and the bad. So that in itself tells us that we're going to go through some good and some bad. There's going to be some times where we're all in, and then there's going to be some times where we're ready to just throw in the towel. And so this platform was created to remind us of what we said I do to, right? But then as I move forward, going through the divorce and then dating and then single and then dating again, God gave me a different vehicle to drive, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I was very scared to drive in the vehicle of single, right? Being single, because I didn't know how to address that audience. I was married for 14 years and in that relationship for 19, 20 years. And so all I knew was relationship. All I knew was marriage. All I knew was what I saw at home with my parents and my uncles and my aunts, right? And so it was easy for me to talk about that. And it was easy for me to share about that. But what I had to really realize is that some of the things that I was sharing and talking about was just a result of some things that I've learned. Not all of it was correct. And so in this vehicle that God had me driving now, he had me throw the car into reverse, right? And just show me different things like, yes, no, don't do that, more of this, less of that, more of you, more of me, less of you, right? All of those things I had to go through and encounter, and not all of it feel or felt good, right? I have to look in the mirror daily and say, Tam, who are you, right? Not what do you do? And for those of you who have been following me for a while, you will know that I often say who I am and what I do are two different things. And what I used to share often was what I did because I didn't know who I was, right? So I would say I am a mother, I am a wife, I'm an employee of the LA County Sheriff's Department, I'm a leader at a church. I talked about all of those things. And then one day I went to a leadership class with my first lady who taught it, who held it, and she shared about knowing who you are. She asked us the question, who are you, right? And many of us, if not all of us, shared what we did. And I had to really come to grips with who I am only enhance what I do. What I do enhance who I am, and who I am enhance what I do, right? I am who God created me to be. I'm a child of God. He gave me a vision. He gave me a mission to do, right? And those things that I do are only enhanced by who I am, my integrity, right? How I operate, right? How I speak, how I dress, all of those things only enhance what he's given me to do. And so this platform is one of the things that he has given me to do. And so again, I am so honored to do so. This particular series that I have been doing for the past 5 weeks now has been amazing, right? And not only has it helped me, I am certain that it has helped the viewers. I know sometimes you guys, y'all don't respond, y'all don't comment, but then I'll see you in the street and you're like, oh, and your response to something, I'm like, I want to see it in the comments, right? Because the people, the guests that I have on, they have stuff that they're saying and they want to respond to what you're saying in that moment. And even if you're coming back for the replay, you still can leave your comment because they're tagged in it, so they'll be able to respond to it. So I am asking you all to like, to share, to comment, ask questions. If you agree, great. If you don't agree, great. Share it, right? Because just because these are our opinions or our experiences doesn't mean that it's Bible, right? Now, if I give you the word, then the word is the word. We can't fight that. But if I'm saying I went through this and this is how I got through it, I'm not saying that is how you get through it. I'm saying there's hope. That's what this thing is all about. So this particular series is called Marriage versus Dating. Is it a thin line, right? Is it a thin line between being in a marriage and being in just a relationship where you are dating, you are courting someone? I'm going to say, yes, there is a very thin line, especially if you are one like me. I feel like I'm naturally a wife, right? So when you get me, you get the essence of a wife. And there's things that, of course, I should not do or I will not do because it is only something that God will ordain for me to do as a wife. But just being a person that date me, you're going to get like, and this is no pat on the back, toot up the horn, but beat, that's who I am. Naturally, it's who I am without even trying. So this series is near and dear to my heart because I'm learning a lot. I've crossed the line multiple times just because it's easy for me to wife up, right? So our first week, you guys, and if you did not watch it, please go back to our YouTube channel and follow and watch it. The first week was, where do you draw the line? And that was with Dr. Crystal Walker. Let me back up, you guys. So this series is all doctors, right? I called in some of my friends, my buddies that are doctors to give their opinion on this particular topic and their experience. So the first week we talked about where do you draw the line with Dr. Crystal Walker. The second week we talked about committing while dating with Dr. Kanisha Bennett. The third week, we talked about time spent. How much is too much? Is there a such thing as spending too much time with the person that you are dating, you're courting, that you're dating with a purpose? Let's say that, right? And that was done with Dr. Rochelle. The fourth week was, how thin is the line? We say, is it a thin line? I'm going to say, yes, it is. And so last week, Dr. Danielle Thomas and Dr. Marty Sellers came on and they talked about how thin the line is, right? So you guys, if you have not watched those shows, or if you missed one or two, or if you need to go back and catch a little piece, get caught up, please do so. Because this week is going to be just as fire, right? We have Dr. Kina, and we are talking about communication. How much is too much to share? These are some really good things that we have to ask ourselves, or we need to ask ourselves when we are in relationship, when we're courting. You may not even be in a place where you're saying like, this is my guy, this is my man. We are dating exclusively. Maybe you're not dating at all. Maybe you are single, and this is something that will assist you in as you walk and you do the work on yourself. I'm a firm believer that the work has to be done within first before you can even expect it to be done from someone else. How do I teach someone how to love me? How do I teach someone how to respect me? How do I teach someone how to speak to me, how to talk to me, how to treat me if I haven't learned that for myself? And those are some of the things that I had to do, some of the things I had to learn as a single woman, coming from a marriage, coming from a relationship of 20 years, backing out of that thing, but thinking that I had it all together, thinking that I'm Tam, like, oh my God, like I know that I'm doing this, that. And maybe I was, and maybe some of it was working for the relationship I was in at that time, but everybody is different, right? And so when we are going into new territory, we have to, especially if you're a believer, you got to ask God, like, give me the oil for the person that I am with now, that I am dating now, right? Because the oil that I had for so-and-so is not going to work over here. And so you just have to be open, honest, and available to shift and change the trajectory of what it is that you do and how you do it. So again, today we have Dr. Kina. I'm going to bring her on and let her introduce herself. Dr. Kina Mosley, we are going to talk about communication. How much is too much to share? So I am going to bring her in with us, you guys. Hey, doctor.
Hey, hey, hey. Good
How are
good
you?
evening. Good evening.
Good evening. You good?
I'm good. Thank you for having me and congratulations on 2 years. I don't even know that I realized it was 2 years that you were doing this segment, but I actually remember meeting you. I don't even remember how many years ago. And you told me when I first met you, I was at an event and I was talking about what I was doing with wives. And you were like, I really have this burden God has placed on my heart. And I am just so happy that had to be at least 6 to 8 years ago.
At least 8.
And you are still on the journey, and I'm so proud of you and so happy
Thank
for you,
you.
and have not wavered in all the changes in your life. You have not wavered, and that is to
Thank
be
you.
commended, because a lot of people would have done a lot of different things. So kudos to you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. And to that, I just want to say, like, when you know that God has given you something, because it's been many a times and many of years that I've wanted to say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, right? But when you are purposed to do something, there's really no way around it. Even when you try to get away from it, there is something that just keep like nudging at you, right? And so that happened to me many a times, especially going through the divorce. I felt like, how dare I try to pour into these women or relationships, and
Hmm.
mine is where it's at. And God had to share with me, your purpose has nothing to do with your status, right? So he says you can be single, you can be dating, you can be married, but I've purposed you to do something, and you can do it or not, but I'm telling you what I've purposed you to do. So thank you for that. And it's women like you, it's people like you that remind me every time that I talk to them. Remember when? And it's just, it gives me another push to
Hmm.
keep going. So I
Keep
say
going.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I also want to say thank you for saying yes to being on the show with me, for sharing. I know that we all have busy lives, and so you can be doing many things, but you chose to say yes to this. And I like to tell my guests, not only did you say yes to me, yourself, but you saying yes to God, and you are helping me push the vision and the mission of Let's Be Clear, or of Make It Rise. And I don't take that for granted. I am honored that you are sitting here with me. And so, Dr. Kina, can you please just share with the people, introduce yourself? What do you have going on? What is it that you do?
So I am Dr. Keena Mosley, as was said. I am a doctor of leadership. And so, what that looks like for me and how that plays out in my day to day life is I am Chief Transformation Officer of Momentum Leadership Group, where we provide organizational improvement and leadership development solutions for primarily early childhood, nonprofit, and social service organizations. And so we go in and we work with leaders and help them to level up and work on their skills. And communication is one of those things that leaders have to work on. And here's the thing about me. For me, leadership isn't about a position. Yep, there's plenty positions that people have out there that give them the title of a leader. But at the end of the day, title or not, leadership is about influence. And
Mm-hmm.
so moms are influencers, grandparents are influencers. If you have people that you are responsible for, that you care for, that you give direction to, then you too are a leader, whether someone has given you a title or not. And you need to handle that leadership, that responsibility with care. And so that's what my focus is. And I have a workshop, a seminar that's coming up on September 8th. We're doing a series called Making the Most of Conflict. Now,
Mm.
that is not something that just happens in the workplace. That happens
Right.
everywhere we go. So, although it is, advertised and focused to leaders, it's something that anybody can take advantage of. And so, we're really going to be figuring out how do we, in just a short few hours, how do we maximize the conflict experiences that we have? Because I don't care how many times, right? A lot of us are like, oh, I don't want to be in conflict, and we're conflict averse and we try to avoid it. At the end of the day, you are always going to have the conflict. Some of us just kick the can further down the road, but
Yeah.
it's going to come. It's going to come. And so why not be prepared to deal with it and to
Yeah.
handle it in a way where you come out on top, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for.
I love that. I love all things leadership. And one thing that you said that really stands out for me. You talk about leadership is not about position, but it's about influence, right? And oftentimes we get so headstrong because of the titles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe even the highest title of any organization can learn from someone, right? If you
Absolutely.
allow yourself to. And so, what better way to build in the organization, the business, the relationship, the marriage? What better way to build other than saying, you know what, show me how, or what is your opinion? What are your ideas, and
Mm-hmm.
bridging those things together so that we can leverage on what it is that what the end goal is, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
we're all going to have different. We may all have different ways of getting to the end goal. But
Mm-hmm.
if we have the one end goal in mind, we need to communicate on, if I'm coming from Hawaii and you're coming from Arizona, I need to let you know, hey, Kina, we are going to meet on Friday at 6 p.m. at this location, but I am coming by plane. I am
Mm-hmm.
coming, I'm coming by plane, then my driver's going to pick me up. I need to stop and do A, B, C, or D. I need to communicate those things with you so that you can
Absolutely.
understand, my way of getting there. And likewise.
But here's the thing. We could both be coming from Hawaii, going to the same place.
Listen.
And those of us that live in Southern California, we know it's 100 different ways and 100 different freeways to take to get somewhere. But we're
Yeah.
going to get there.
Yes.
And my way may not be your way, but it may
Right.
be the way that works for me. So how do we meet in the middle somewhere and be able to move forward in a healthy, productive way?
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And so when is the class again? September 8th.
September 8th, which is a Thursday morning, and it is at 9 a.m.
Online.
It is in Torrance at Zamperini Field,
Oh,
the Torrance
yeah.
Airport.
Oh, nice,
Mm-hmm.
nice. Okay. I'll make sure that I get the information so that I can drop it in the comments and on my page, my social media, and all of those things, because I think it's very important for us to understand, how to deal with conflict and how to be
Absolutely.
effective leaders, right? In
Yes.
like you said, it's not just at work. So yes, it will work in your workplace, but in your home, because that's where it all started, right?
Mm-hmm.
And heck,
Absolutely.
sometimes we have conflict within ourselves.
We do.
So it's me against me
We do.
sometimes.
We're going to cover that too.
Yeah. I love it.
We're going to
So
cover that
yes,
too. And you can
definitely.
follow me. You can find out the information at Dr. Kina on all things social media. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook as Dr. Kina, Keena. And you'll be able to hit the link and get the information.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. So let's jump right on in and talk about this communication. And, when we talk about how much is too much to share, when we talk about communication, I automatically think about us or whoever it is that you're communicating with and how
Mm-hmm.
you're communicating with them.
Mm-hmm.
What the goal is for you to understand my point of view, my mindset, what it is that I want, what I desire, what I need, right? And so my way of communicating it may not be one that you understand it. So I think it's very important for us to understand how the person that's receiving it, how do they receive messages? Because I can say something and feel like I'm extremely clear. How often have you said something to someone and you're like, I said, it's like, duh, right?
Right.
But that may not be their style of communication. So it's so
It may
important.
not be their style. It may not be what they were exposed to growing
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
Or we also have to factor in previous relationships. So first, let me back up.
Mhm.
If we're talking about genders, and no disrespect to anybody, but all I know how to talk about is a man and a woman.
Yeah.
But men and women communicate completely differently. And so you and I are having this conversation, right? And we're like, okay, well, if I want you to understand something, I just want to communicate to you. Well, that's not always what men do. And we want to tell them, and they're like, oh, this is a lot of words. This is about a whole lot of coming at me. And you're thinking, oh, no, I'm just sharing. And sometimes you got to read the room, sis. Back down, calm down. It's too much for him.
Yeah.
and give it to him in smaller doses and in ways that he can take. Some things need to be communicated immediately.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Some
Yeah.
things you can wait on. And for women, a lot of the things we can wait on, we
Right.
just are impatient. We want to talk about it right now. But he's not your sister. He's not your girlfriend. He's not your homegirl. He's not
Yeah.
any of those things. He is uniquely man. And
Mm.
that's what you want, right?
Mhm.
So you got to remember that he is uniquely man and let him be that. Honor and respect who he is, just like you want him to honor and respect who you are.
I like that. I
And
like
so,
the uniquely man. I like that.
God made us differently, right?
Yeah.
And for what relationships can only be God's idea, because this is trying to fit what to say, a round peg in a square hole.
Yeah.
We try to make it work and we
We
do the
do.
best that we can, but we are different. We have a different set of needs.
Yes.
We have a different way of being and operating and moving in the world. And that takes a lot of time and finessing. People that have been married 50 years will tell you we are still growing and learning. Now,
Yeah.
how is that?
Right.
They are
Right.
still growing and learning because we're forever changing. And so you can go to a man and say, tell me how you feel. And he's thinking, well, in my home, I wasn't allowed to express how I feel when I was a little boy. And I was traumatized or something was going on with me. I was told to suck it up.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
all of a sudden they get in a relationship and you want them to have feelings and express themselves.
Right.
When did they have permission to do that before? So now
Yeah.
they have to learn how to do that. And then they have to figure out what it means to actually communicate in a healthy manner and be able to express
Mm.
their feelings and still be safe.
That's good.
Because
Yeah.
what we don't know all the time is, have they taken those walls down in the past with other people, and have those walls been violated? Has that trust been violated? Have they been hurt and injured? And yeah, I don't know if I want to expose myself to you
Right.
because the last one took advantage of it.
Right.
The last
Right.
one used me, the last one abused me. And so we have to, as women, we have to walk carefully when we are communicating with a man. And I don't care how long you've been with him, you still have to walk carefully. At
Yeah.
least in my experience, you have to learn and study your mate
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
know
You know
when
what?
the
I
time is
say
right.
that often. I talk about in my book, The Marriage Policies and Procedures, there's a chapter in there that shares about being a student and a teacher in the relationship. You
Absolutely.
must always teach and you must always be a student so that you can learn. We're always evolving, as you said. There's always
Always.
something that is changing, whether it be we've experienced it, we've heard something, we've read something, we smelled something, because a whole bunch of different things will have us
Mhm.
shifting what our beliefs are, right? And
Absolutely.
what I've learned is that we tend to communicate a way, especially women, we tend to communicate in a way that we want to be communicated to. Like,
Right.
and so instead of me really like trying to learn, being a student of how you receive, how you understand, instead of me doing that, I am saying to you, this is what I want you to give me.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
he doesn't quite understand that, and vice versa. If he's doing it as well, if he's just like the shutdown, we're not going to talk right now. So it goes both ways, So I'm not here to bash the men or bash the women.
Right.
I'm here to merely say, listen, it is work to be done on both ends.
On
Yeah,
both
and if
ends.
we aren't willing to serve each other's needs and not our own, we've already set ourselves up for failure in the communication department.
And here's why you have to be willing to study, because the other person may not be able to really clearly tell you
Yeah.
how they communicate, what works best for them. Now, let me tell you what we can always tell somebody: what doesn't work for us.
Woo. Yep.
I've said this to a group of men before. One of the things about that relationship between men and women is men want and need to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
For women, that respect often looks differently.
Yeah.
So help us to understand what respect looks like for you, because you can always tell us when you feel like you've been disrespected, but you don't do such a good job of telling me what respect looks like. And
Yeah.
so when people aren't able to communicate with you what their needs are, you have to study to find those things out for yourself and then ask the questions
Hmm.
so that you can make sure. Don't just assume what you've observed is what you think you've observed.
Yeah.
And now you know the gospel truth. You may
Yeah.
not, it may have just been a one off. It might have been a good day. It might have been a bad day. Who knows? But ask the questions once you feel like you have a good grasp of whatever that is.
Absolutely. I went to a couples Bible study last week, and one of the questions my pastor asked to the group was he asked the man, how do you want your woman, your wife, to keep you company, right? And then he said, well, hold on, before you answer that, he asked the ladies, how do you keep him company? So the women were, responding and saying, oh, I watch the game with him sometime. I do this, I do that, right? And then he said, okay, so men, how does she keep you company? Crickets, right? Question was, how do you expect her to give you something that you don't know how to communicate? Right. And he was, when he broke it down, it made so much sense, because sometimes we are asking for something, but without words, but we don't really know how to verbalize it. Right. And especially for men, like you said earlier, they were told, not to cry, suck it up. I know my cousin, I used to hear my aunt ask my cousin, are you a man or a mouse? And he'd be like, a man. At the age of 4, he'd be like, a man. And she'd tell him, okay, well, pull it together. But then we get married, and the woman is saying, for them, the woman is saying, be a mouse, right? Because being a mouse says, I am going to express how I feel, my emotions, my thoughts, how I truly feel about this particular situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I'm a mouse. That means I'm a punk. I can't do that. But it's messing your marriage up or your relationship up.
Right. And they're not conditioned for it.
They're not conditioned for it. So how do we, as women, and I know this is kind of shifting, but what, in your opinion, how do we as women help heal? It's their work to do, right? It's their work, it's their healing to get. But if you're in this relationship with this man, if you have committed to being committed to it, how do we help heal him? How do we do the 3 H's? Help heal him. How do we do that as women?
I think we have to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
They are not just studying us, they're watching us. Just like we're testing them out, they're testing us out too.
That's good.
And so they'll give us little things here and there. They'll give us little pieces of information, and they'll give us little opportunities. And so if you succeed, then you go up a notch.
Yeah.
And then you succeed, you'll go up another notch, and you keep going, and then they'll really start to let those walls down. But let me tell you, you break his trust, you start all over again.
You start all over again. You know what? It's so funny that you say, you do little things and then you go up a notch, right? And you're right. As you go up a notch, the wall comes down. So it kind of works this way. But then I don't care if you've done 20 things here. That one time that you do something to break the trust, it automatically reverses, and you're starting all over.
I don't know that the wall is coming down.
Okay.
I don't know that the wall is coming down. I think you are climbing up the ladder to get over the wall. I don't think the wall comes down until you either get to the top of the wall or you get over the wall. But I don't know, because it's so easy for it to come back up.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I really like that, because one thing that I always share about guards and walls, right? I always say, our guards are here, and we're protecting our heart. We're like, if you're fighting, you're protecting your chest, your face, your head. We're doing these things. But if the wall is up, like I can climb a wall, as you're saying. I can climb over a wall. But if someone have their guards up, I don't care which way you move. If they're watching you intently, they're moving with you, right? So they're protecting themselves because of experience that they've had. It could be childhood. It could be just the last relationship that they were in. And oftentimes, as one of my past guests said, he shared about how he gave an analogy about being at a restaurant, going into a restaurant and talking to the waitress and saying, I want to have dinner. And she take him to this table that has a dirty plate and glasses on it. And he's like, Okay, you gonna clean the table, right? And so she
Right.
said, I'll be back. She leaves, she come back. But when she come back, he's thinking she's gonna get the towel and she's gonna take this stuff away. She comes back with the bill. And he's like, so I haven't eaten, right? I haven't drank anything, and you're giving me a bill to pay for the people who were here before. And he said, this is what happens in relationships.
Oh, that's good.
They're paying for the food that was eaten or not from the previous person that was sitting at the table. Women like to say, I am the table, right? Okay, so what dirty dishes do you have on your table, and when do you plan on cleaning it? Right?
When?
What work are you doing to clean the table off? Versus leaving the table dirty, inviting someone to dinner, and having them pay for the meal that was eaten by the person that came before.
Right, right. Well, and I think what we have to remember is when we are entering into a relationship, we enter not just with the person that we see. Along with them comes the ghost of all the relationships in the past and all of their family and all of their experiences. It comes with them and it comes with us. And we don't see all of those people.
Yeah.
But they absolutely are infiltrating our conversation and our interactions.
That is so
and
true.
We have to be mindful of that. There are certain things that we can say to our mates that trigger something that their mother said to them or that their sister used to do to them. And we have to be sensitive to that, just as a man can do it to a woman.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that. Now, as the individual that's being triggered, we have to be mature enough to then realize, this is not his bill to pay. This is my baggage showing up.
Yeah.
And I have to do better. And I have to, when I first got married, I'm married to a wonderful man that anybody who's ever met him knows that he loves his wife.
Yes, he does.
And I don't say that to brag or boast or anything. My husband loves me, and he will do anything for me. But let me tell you something. That man, every now and then, something comes up and it takes him backwards. And I have to remind him that I'm not that person. And every now and then for me, my childhood mess comes up.
Yeah.
And as much as he loves me, if he's out later than usual, because, women watch the pattern. And if he breaks the pattern, he's out later than usual, or he doesn't answer my call, I start going crazy. Not because of anything he's done, but because of what I grew up in. I grew up in a household where my stepfather was never faithful to my mother.
Yeah.
And I vowed that I would never allow myself to be in that kind of a relationship. So when it comes up, I have to say, no. This man right here, Mr. Mosley, has never given you reason to doubt him. He has never given you reason to think that he is doing anything else. I have all of his passcodes. I know how to figure out where he is if I needed to. I have access to everything. We don't have those problems. People laugh at us all the time. We're always on each other's phones, not because we're looking through stuff, because we just using each other. That was the phone that was closest to us, and we got the phone work.
I love it. Right.
And I have to check myself on a regular basis, but it has nothing to do with him. And we've been married for 11 years now. And every now and then, I still have to say, that's not him. He didn't do it.
That's good, Kina. That's really good. I'm honestly, and just being very transparent, that's something that the guy that I'm dating right now, we've experienced that, just different anxieties from previous relationships had nothing to do with the current, right? But when something looks, smell, seem a little familiar, it's like you are on high alert. Like, okay, wait, what is that? Is that the same thing? And it's so unfair, because it's not the same. It's not the same person. They may do the same thing. They may not answer the phone when you call at a particular time, but the intent, what's behind it is completely different, right?
Right.
So it's unfair for us to put these jackets on them that does not fit, pretty much. And so
does not fit.
I'm like you. I have to check myself, like, hey, Tam, like, what was that? Right? You never know if you've completely healed an area until you're put in position to respond healed or not. And there has been many a times in this relationship that I am currently building in that I had to say, whoo, still some more work that you need to do, right? There's been some times where I looked in the mirror and was like, that was nothing, that was not even about him. Like you saw
You know what?
but not
sometimes the purpose of the relationship is to help you do the work.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And so it takes me to a place of asking you, so when we know what the hurt is in someone's life that we're dating or that we are married to, is there a such thing as sharing too much? Mm-hmm. When we talk about communication, is there such thing as sharing too much? Could something that you say hinder the relationship because it's too much? Like, you probably should have kept that part to yourself, but there is a level of, discussion that needs to be had. So mm-hmm. when I do respond a certain way, you understand, like, that really has nothing to do with me. That's something that she experienced in her past.
So I definitely think there is a measure of transparency that you need to bring to every relationship. Mm-hmm. But I also believe that there is a such thing as too much too soon.
Got it.
And so you have to measure yourself. Take your time. Don't, on the first date, he don't need to know everything about you. Mm-hmm. Give him a minute to know that you're not crazy before you start sounding crazy.
Right.
Because that's what happens. A lot of times we get so excited. And I think it happens two times. It happens when we're really young and naive, and it happens when we're older and we're eager.
Yeah.
Because when you get to a certain age, you're like, I don't have time to waste. Look, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. But hey, wait a minute.
Be wise.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
He's not ready for all of this. He don't know your last name yet.
Right.
And so you were talking about in the intro, you use this analogy about cars. And if I could go back to that analogy, when you rent a car, your behavior is one way because you know that car does not belong to you and you need to return it in a certain condition. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you own a car, then you can personalize it, you can customize it, you can do all that you want to do with that car because you're locked in and you've made a commitment to it. Well, mm-hmm. communication is the same way. Okay. When you are in a relationship and you're dating and you're getting to know somebody and you're testing the water, you're just going to give them a little bit at a time. Mm-hmm. Keep some for yourself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They may not be able to handle all of you. They may not be mature enough for all of you. They may not have enough experience. They may have their own baggage that they're dealing with. When you mix all of that with theirs, it's too much. It can explode. But over time,
they can grow.
You can build and you can grow together, and then you can start sharing those things. I watch a lot of relationship shows, so I watch like Ready to Love and Married at First Sight. Me and my husband, Marriage Boot Camp, we love all those kind of shows, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that the older the participants are, sometimes they share more and more and more, and it's more so the women. I noticed the men seem to be more guarded as they get older, and maybe that is what has come out of our male-female dynamic. And the women, there's one woman on the show I'm watching now, and she just is out there like giving it all up. I was in this really bad relationship and this happened to me and my son and this and I'm like, girl, wait a minute.
Too much.
It's so much, and it has turned off some of the guys. It's actually even turned off some of the women. It's so much. But you want people to know you have children. Yes, you do. But they don't need to know the ins and outs about your children. They don't need to know all of the specifics about your relationships with your previous partners. There is information that you just need to hold on to until they have earned the right to know it.
Right. I agree.
Do you know for certain that they can handle this information with care? Because if the relationship doesn't work out, and they walk away, now they also have that information.
Yeah.
And do you really want that?
Right.
Do you really
Right.
want them to be able to walk away with all of your secrets, with all of your good stuff, with all of those things that are most important to you and your loved ones?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not. Because if the
Right.
relationship doesn't last, then it means that there was a flaw somewhere. The flaw might be with you, the flaw might be with them. But
Right.
you want those flaws taking all of your all of your sensitivities away.
Right, right. I wrote I had typed a note in my phone, and I did say that there's a level of trust that should be acquired before sharing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, you want to share, enough to show him or her who you are, your morals, your integrity, all of those things, but not too much, because as you said, if this person isn't the person, and I've given you all of these sensitive things, all of these things that are near and dear to my heart about my kids, my parents, my past, all of those things. Now I have just given you access to something
Access.
that you do not even, you shouldn't have, right?
Some stuff
And
about
that's
me
where
was
the
on a
lack
need to
of
know
access.
basis.
Yes, 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 yes. And like you said, is the individual even available to receive all of those things, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that that person is not the person, but just like anything, there's a process,
There's a
right?
process.
And so as he or she began to learn who their person is, there's a little bit, you crack open a little bit more and more as the trust begins to build, as you begin to see the integrity of the person, the attitude, because you don't really know a person until they get upset. They don't have no money. Like, you mess with their mama, their man, their kids, like, you will see who
Yep.
that person is. It's easy to love someone when things are good,
Right. There's
but when the back is against the wall, now
Yep.
what?
If I could turn back the hands of time, there is a conversation that I had with my husband when we first started dating. The purpose of the conversation was for him to understand why I respond to him the way that I do sometimes.
Okay.
But what happened was a byproduct of that conversation was it tainted the way that he responds to my mother. And
God.
so, because of what happened between her and I, when he first met her, because my mother lives out of state, when he first met her, he met her with that information on his mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it tainted that initial meeting. I don't think because of who my husband is, I don't think his response would have been any different at any point, but at least it would not have impacted their first meeting.
Got it. Got
And
it.
she would have had enough opportunity to build some clout with him before I shared that information. And
Yeah.
so I know firsthand what it means to be able to handle information with care and to
Yeah.
be able to save some things until the appropriate time, because that may have been too much too soon.
That's good. That's good. I know that when my ex and I, when we broke up, people were so not my ex-husband, but my ex before him. When we broke up, people were so surprised because I did not share with folks what we were going through. So they thought, and not that I was trying to put on a facade that, our relationship was perfect or anything like that, but I had been taught by my mom that you don't share everything with everybody, right? And I also knew my family. So if I'm not serious and ready to just cut this man off, leave it alone. If I'm going to get over it, don't even tell them, because you're right. Now they're holding something over your spouse or the person you're dating, and you're over it. You're like, y'all tripping,
Right.
But so we have to be very, very, very mindful of those things. I like that you said, don't share too much too soon. It's not saying don't share at all, but just know there's levels to this thing.
Just
And
wait,
not everyone get to experience front row seat of your life immediately, right? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So you
Need
may
to
mess
know
up
basis.
something that could have been amazing, but because you shared something, you may have them looking at you, or just, oh, these are the type of people that she hang with, like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and remove myself from this.
So this might be a little bit controversial, but you know, when you go to concerts, right, you have people that work the events and concerts, conferences, and every person that is engaged with the inner workings of the event, they have different levels of clearance. They have different levels of access. And
Right.
so they might have floor access where they have the run of the floor.
Yeah.
They might have stage access where they can actually be on the stage. They may have backstage access where they can be in the backstage or the green room or whatever. Then there is the last and final is all access. They can go anywhere. I don't believe that a person should have an all access pass until we've said I do.
That's the whole purpose of this entire series. There is a thin line, and how thin is the line? Very thin.
It's
but you are absolutely right. Yeah.
Some things you got to hold on until we have crossed that line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a way to end this. I love that because, and as I share all the time, I know that I am a wife, right? And I think we are a wife, but we're not his wife yet. We're in training with God. He's showing us how to be a wife. He's showing us how to love. He's showing us how to submit. He's showing us how to be quiet. All of the things that it is going to take as a wife, with your husband. God is initially showing us that if we're paying attention. So we're already a wife. We're just not his wife. And we got to be, I have to be careful with that because especially if that's not who God is saying is my husband. Now, right. He will allow you to, we have choices. If you choose him, okay, it'll be my permissive will, not my perfect will.
And I want perfect.
I want perfect.
I've done permissive before.
Perfect. Yeah, I had permissive before.
Perfect is a lot of work already, but that permissive is a whole nother level. And I just,
absolutely
want the perfect from now here on out. I'm going for perfect will.
What you say? I want the perfect will. I love it. Dr. Keena, I want to say to you again, thank you so much. This has been fun, amazing.
Yeah.
I already knew that I had a couple of questions written, but I was like, I'm not even going to need them. Sometimes I have to have a couple just in case.
Yeah.
Put some silence, like, okay, so, right? But because of how we connect, I knew that it would be just as it is or just as it was. If you could leave something with the viewers, a nugget or two, what would that be?
There is a thin line between marriage and dating and how you handle yourself in either of those situations. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What I want us all to be cautious of is to not compare ourselves to any other couple, anything you see online, anything you see on TV. Don't even compare yourself to the imaginations you have had about a relationship. Let your relationship be what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Walk through it day by day, moment by moment. Build the momentum that you need to build so that it can become all that it is destined to be. Not what your dream is, not what you think his dream is. Women have dreamed of relationships for a very long time. Men, not always the case. And so what we tend to do is we invite men into our dreams, but that's unfair to him. And it's really unfair to you. Allow yourself the space and the opportunity to build together.
Yeah.
Because what you can build together is so much greater than what one person has envisioned on their own.
Oh, that's
and that
good.
Comes through communication. That comes from spending time together. That comes from honesty and transparency. That comes from time over time over time.
I love that. Love that. That's good. I love the build together part. It's very important. But the fact that you said build together and do not just invite him into your dream.
Don't do it.
That's powerful. Because you're right. It's usually the women who have these big fantasies and
Mm-hmm.
things that they want. They may take a piece of a relationship goal from that relationship and this one and that one, and then they put it all together, and this is what they want, right? And
Right.
then we say, okay, so you're the man that I'm dating, you're the man that I'm going to marry. This is our dream. This right here, this is what we're gonna have. And he's like,
Here it
what?
is.
Right here. Oh, so you've built it already. You just want me to conform.
Yep. I just want you to move on in.
Just move in.
I got it taken care of already. I already know what you're going to wear, what you're going to look like, how you're going to sound, what we're going to talk about.
Wow. That's good. That's good. That's a good tip. That's a good tip. But I want to say again, Kina, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. You guys, if there's anything any questions, any comments, please do not hesitate to ask, to post them, to share them. Make sure I'll be posting the information about Kina's workshop on September 8th. Make sure if you can to please join. I'm going to do my best to be there September 8th at Zamperini Field, right, in Torrance.
Yes.
I'll share the link. I'll share all of that on my page and in the comments as well. But it has been amazing once again, Kina.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Granted. Absolutely. I'm going to have you back at some point. At some point, I am going to have you back. I love you.
Love you back.
May God bless you, your union, your business, and everything that you put your hands to that he's involved in. I don't take it for granted, again, that you've said yes and that you are helping me push the mission and vision of Let's Be Clear and Make It Rise. So, again, thank you.
Thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, we will. Bye, you guys. Have a good one, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
All righty.